Moore come forward and do the invocation, please, and we all stand.
Let us pray. O Lord, our Lord, the majesty of your name fills the earth. Your glory is higher than the heavens. When I look at the night sky and I see the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have set in place, what are mortals that you should think of us, mere humans that you should care for us? And yet you put us in charge of everything that you have made. And Father, for that I come and I ask on your behalf for this council. I ask you to be with them in the leadership that they have been assigned. Father, we just ask you to bring goodness upon our mayor, and we pray for the prosperity of the council and for this city. And Father, may we always seek and guide and look to you for that help. But Father, we're just thankful that we are here and that we can be a part of this tonight. Father, be with them in the decisions they make. We pray as they look after the poor, as they care for those who struggle. And Father, we just ask you as they continue to look for what is best for the members of this community. And Father, we ask all of these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, I'll call the meeting to order. Mrs. Falk, would you call the attendance, please?
Mr. Fletcher?
Here.
Ms. Graves?
Here.
Mrs. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mayor Winger?
Here. Are there any agenda additions, deletions?
I want to request that item 3D be moved up to be the first public hearing. I think there's a lot of comment on that, and that way people can go home afterwards. We don't have to keep them.
All right. Are there any other changes? Would that come after where in public hearing?
It would come up in top of 3A. Like it would bounce.
So it would be
Yeah,
after.
it would be heard first.
Public hearing.
It would be the thing heard first in public hearing,
All right.
right after public comment closes.
Move for approval as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Proclamations, we have none tonight. And public comment, we have 4 on the agenda here that have asked preliminarily to come and speak. The first is Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson, would you come forward, please?
Thank you, Council. My name is Charlie Wilson. I'm a resident of the city of Vero Beach. My address is Post Office Box 651114 in Vero Beach. I want to apologize in advance for the way I'm dressed. I'm a little overdressed for a city council meeting. I want to explain that we have a play our show that we have to do out at the retirement center at exactly 7 o'clock. And if the curtain goes up and I'm not there, it's going to be an awful lonely stage. So the good news is that you don't have to listen to me very long, but I really apologize for having to be what may be considered a little overdressed for a city council meeting. So I thank you. Unfortunately, we were actually thinking with the conflict of delaying this presentation, but unfortunately, once we saw some of the really outrageous reporting in some of the blogs, we decided that it was really important that we get some of the factual information before the council and before the public as soon as possible. Any delay would have delayed us for over a month. We do want to thank the Vero Beach Press Journal, 32963. The Chronicle newspaper did a fine job in doing their interview, and WPTV Channel 5 for their accurate reporting of what I'm going to go over with you this evening. The first thing is, what is we are the Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce. Our mission is to encourage tourism, economic development, the protection of our environment, and preservation of the unique lifestyle that is Vero Beach and the Barrier Island. Our motto is to think Vero first. We have frequently asked questions. There have been several questions, and they're legitimate questions, and I'm here to answer them. For instance, does Vero Beach really need its own chamber? Are we a real chamber? Are you really competing against the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce? And what can you do that isn't already being done? And I'd like to answer all of those questions for you this evening. First, why a Vero Beach Chamber? Vero Beach is a unique place. We all love Vero Beach. There's no place like it on earth. Sebastian has a chamber. Why shouldn't Vero Beach have a chamber? How can a Sebastian chamber be good and a Vero Beach chamber be bad? 60 to 70% of all tourism money comes from the service area of the new Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce. There are 2,465 licensed businesses within the city limits of the city of Vero Beach. Approximately 80% of those are not members of any chamber. We, as a new chamber, are not dependent upon county money, and we are free to think of Vero first. Are you a real chamber? Well, we are fully licensed. If you go on Sunbiz, you'll find us there as a licensed nonprofit corporation, and we even have a city occupational license that was issued by the city on the 2nd of January. We're very pleased. We have an organizational board that is required of, and two of my members, I believe, are here. Mark Mucher is here, and Dan Stump is right over here, are two of our board members. Dan is our attorney. After the organizational period, which ends March 31st, we will seat a 15-member elected board sometime the first 2 weeks in April. We have 3 standing committees, and we concentrate on 3 things: tourism, economic development, and governmental affairs. We meet all the requirements that are legal requirements to operate a Chamber of Commerce, as one of the pseudo-news outlets said. They talked to the county or city attorney and realized that we're not here for your permission. You don't have to endorse us. We're just here to give you the information to be able to work with us in the future. We have established offices at 2001 building, 2 blocks east of here, in Suite 105. We are there now. We've negotiated for additional locations that I'll talk to you about in a minute. Our websites, publications, promotional material, and advertising is all in production, and we are on track to reach our goal of 100 founding members by March 31st. The important thing about a founding member is that they get forever, for the next 20 years. They will have advantages. They will be listed first under all the categories in all of our directories and our advertising. They will also be considered first when it comes to purchasing, which we are concentrating on doing within the city limits of Vero Beach. We purchase from Vero Beach businesses. Now, who are our members, and are we competing with the Indian River Chamber? Many businesses will see the advantages of dual memberships. Some will want to join the Indian River County Chamber only. Some will want to join us only. The fact is, if you like your chamber, you can keep your chamber. If you like both chambers, you can keep both chambers. That's all there is to it. We urged continued support in our literature and our mail. As a matter of fact, a letter that just went out, I'd like to quote it. It says, we are not in competition with the Indian River Chamber of Commerce, and we urge businesses to continue to support their efforts. If you like your chamber, you can keep your chamber. We would like to have the same relationship with the Indian River Chamber of Commerce that Sebastian has with the Indian River Chamber of Commerce. We're going to strive to have that happen. All the good things that the Indian River County Chamber does today, they will be able to do tomorrow. There is nothing that we do that will interfere in what they do. We simply do things differently, and we do more. The Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce, in its bylaws, are prohibited. We are forbidden to solicit or accept government funds. So, Tammy, you can't even be a member. The Vero Beach is a member of the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, but they cannot be a member of the Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce. So, what can you do that the Indian River County doesn't do? Well, first of all, we can think Vero first. The new Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce can promote Vero hotels, restaurants, shops, and businesses exclusively. We are not required to include County and Sebastian businesses in all publications and advertising, as the Indian River Chamber is required to do under their contract as the county-wide tourism development organization. We do not have to do that. Target marketing. The new Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce plans to focus on a different target market, Orlando and South Florida, for getaway vacations with packages designed for families that include activities such as golf, boating, tennis, attractions, and all that our nature and our local businesses have to offer. Seasonal advertising. The new Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce will concentrate on inviting visitors in the summer months. The winter season is crowded enough for all of us. We welcome visitors in the summer when we have room and we need business the most. Branding the Vero Beach name. Nobody sits in Ohio or Paducah, Kentucky and says, let's go visit Indian River County. What they say is, let's go visit Vero Beach. A great deal of the publicity that we've had over the last year and preceding years is because of Vero Beach. And branding that name, I believe, is important to our community and to our community's businesses. Again, since we don't accept any government money, we are able to promote one area over another. The Indian River Chamber of Commerce, by virtue of its contract, has agreed not to promote any one section of the county over another section of the county. And we believe that Vero Beach is unique and should be promoted more actively than the county as a whole. Reduced membership cost. This is not their fault. It's just that because we're a new chamber and we don't have the overhead that the Indian River Chamber has, we simply can operate for less. We are already well on our way and on track to have our founding members. We have enough commitments actually to be able to operate for a year from contributions and donations and memberships already. Our rates are less, but again, we urge people to continue to support the Indian River County Chamber because they do things that we don't do. We're not going to compete with the Indian River County Chamber. We're simply going to complete the Indian River County Chamber as far as the city of Vero Beach is concerned. Economic development. The Indian River County Chamber of Commerce administers a number of economic development programs for the county. The new Vero Beach Chamber intends not to interfere in those efforts in any way. What we plan to focus on is expanding businesses that are already here by making the community more prosperous. We will and helping unemployment. You realize that every summer, if you'll watch the unemployment rate, 500 or 600 people get laid off or their hours cut because the summer months are tough. And what we would like to do and what we're going to concentrate on doing is seeing if we can keep those people employed. We're going to keep those people busy. We're going to keep those, we want to encourage businesses in the summer months. For relocation, we are going to rely on person to person. You know, there are more CEOs retired in the city of Vero Beach and Indian River Shores and the Barrier Island than any place else in the world, I believe. And how many businesses came here because they came down, a business owner from someplace else came down to visit one of their friends in Vero Beach? Well, that person to person is what we need to concentrate on for relocation. And we're not going to interfere in the Chamber's current efforts on site selections, which is one of the big efforts that the Indian River Chamber has. We're not going to interfere in any way, or job grants, or any of those projects. The county pays them more than $500,000 to provide those services, and they're going to continue to do it. We are not going to interfere in any way with what they do for the county. Media selection. The new Vero Beach Chamber plans to use electronic media such as radio and television, as well as the newest web and social applications to promote Vero Beach instead of the more generic publications, magazine publications, and Visit Florida promotions. They work very closely with the Indian River Chamber, and I'm sure in a few minutes when they make their presentation, they will go over all the wonderful things that the Indian River Chamber does. I agree. I don't have any question about it. I agree with everything they're going to say. However, they can still do that, and they can continue to do that in addition to what the efforts are by the new Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce. The new Vero Beach Chamber will simply add more to what is already being done. A signature event. The new Vero Beach Chamber plans to develop a uniquely Vero signature event that attracts visitors in the summertime, Fellsmere has a Frog Lake Festival. Sebastian has a Clam Bake. West Palm Beach has Sunfest. Tampa has Gasparilla. I couldn't spell Gasparilla, so I put it in here. So help us. We're going to help design, and I want you to help us design a VERO event, new to, and so if you'll help join the Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce and our events committee, you can help us design that. Okay, county versus city. Indian River County residents are our friends and neighbors, but occasionally, just occasionally, Vero Beach needs are not county needs. Who speaks up for Vero Beach? Remember, we have a county administrator that went on the radio and said that he didn't know why there was even a city of Vero Beach, why the city of Vero Beach even existed. I asked myself, why in the world we would want a person that doesn't want us to exist to be in charge of our economic development and our largest industry, which is tourism. The new Vero Beach Chamber takes no government money, and we think Vero first. We represent Vero businesses on important governmental issues like sand and impact fees and GO lines and transportation, etc. Separating the chamber and the tourism websites. Our websites for members and events is verochamber.com. We have a separate website for tourism that will be announced shortly. Our much higher traffic count for Vero Beach tourism will increase bookings for hotels and restaurants. We think it is important that visitors not be required to go into a chamber website to find tourism information. So our tourism sites are completely separated and promoted separately. You do not have to go, again, if you're sitting in Des Moines, Iowa, you're not going to look up the Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce. You're going to look up Vero Beach hotels or whatever you want to. Okay. In summary, the Vero Chamber is a fully licensed, operating, legitimate chamber. Vero isn't like any place else. Like Sebastian, we need a Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce. Everything the Indian River County Chamber does now, it can continue to do. And lastly, the Vero Beach Chamber can do what no one else can do, and that is think, promote, and help the city of Vero Beach first, last, and only. Now I have 7 minutes if anybody wants to ask me any questions. And then I know that there's a presentation afterwards. I wish them well. I hope I'm sure the presentation will be impressive, as it always is. My 2 board members, Mr. Mucher and Mr. Stump, will stay to be able to answer questions after their presentation, if there are any. And I'm sorry that I do have to go from one place to another, but these seniors are really nice people, and I would like to be on time. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Mrs. Chandler, you are up next.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be with you this evening. My name's Penny Chandler. I'm the president of the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, and I have with me this evening members of our staff and our board. Let's see. I've been with the Chamber here in Indian River County for 18 years. I just last week celebrated 33 years in Chamber management and have gone through the Institute of Organization Management with the United States Chamber. Our Chamber of Commerce started in quite a long time ago, almost 100 years ago in 1915 as the Board of Trade. It was changed to the Chamber of Commerce in 1922. And for over 100 years, we've had quality leadership. I guess I better figure this out. We've promoted a strong local economy. As you know, there are no walls built around any community, and there are no walls around Indian River County. So when we promote for the good of all. We're known for consensus building, cooperation, and building coalitions. We have almost 900 member firms representing thousands of employees in Indian River County, including Vero Beach. We have 6 full-time staff members, and we serve as the county's primary economic development organization as well as the destination marketing organization. We house the visitor center. Our chamber started in a little building in Pocahontas Park. We're still there. We encouraged the development of State Route 60 across the state. And the hospital district, many people don't know this, but in 1940, the Chamber Board was very concerned about the water, the sewer, the heat, lack of, and just general maintenance of the hospital. And a group was formed which became the hospital district. We sold tax warrants so that we could enable to fund clearing and grading of runways to form Vero Beach Airport. We've always promoted tourism, as you can see from this old postcard. And we have community leader summits. We do business recruitment. We promote the enterprise zone, which is in and around Vero Beach Airport. And we do business retention. We formed the team that kept Piper Aircraft, which kept over 850 employees employed right here in Vero Beach. We have Leadership Indian River County, and we've always had quality leadership throughout the years. J.J. Schumann from the Press Journal, John Wheeler, Buckingham Wheeler Agency, Dan Richardson, Gracewood Fruit Company, Ed Schlitt Realty, Emily Loy, Emily's Children's Wear, John Moore from Indian River Citrus Bank, J.B. Egan, Oslo Citrus, Bill Bryant and Associates, Andy Beindorf, Indian River National Bank, Cook Gravely from First Union, Bill Curtis with First National and later with Seacoast, Jay Hart, First National, later with Seacoast, Bill Penny from Marine Bank, and currently our board chairman is Kathy McKenzie. At this time, I'd like to just take a moment to introduce some of the members of our board. In addition to Kathy McKenzie, Jennifer Bates, and maybe you could stand while I call your names. Jennifer Bates with the Holiday Inn Hotel and Suites Oceanside, Andy Beindorf, Center State Bank. Amy Brunges, I know from FP&L, was not able to be with us this evening. Simon Caldecott from Piper Aircraft is represented here this evening by Tim Smith and Lisa Giesert. Billy Chavers from Colton Williams Liston Remy. Dan Corrigan, unable to attend from Corrigan Ranch. Julie Denning, Kilwins, Vero Beach. Anthony Donadio and Associates. Luana Dupree from Spectrasoft. Lucinda Gideon from Vero Beach Museum of Art, Linda Schlitt-Gonzalez, Coldwell Banker, Ed Schlitt Realtors, Jay Hart from Wells Fargo, Dave King, Ineos New Planet Bioenergy. Dr. Paul Minotti is represented by Carrie Ludicky and Lindy McDonald, Jamie LaViolette from Publix. Jason Odom is represented here tonight by Brian Connolly, who's with Gould Cooksey Fennell. Robert Paw, Bill Bryant and Associates, Bill Penny, Marine Bank and Trust, and Peter Robinson, Laurel Agency, Jeff Schlitt Services, Dr. David Sullivan from Indian River State College, and Michael Walther from Coastal Tech. Thank you. Our chamber programs include business referrals, of course, government affairs. We have a government issues committee. Many of you have visited that committee, and we take issues on a variety of things that impact our local businesses. We have a leadership program, networking opportunities. We have the Young Professionals Network, the Action Alert Program, which works very closely with the police department in Vero Beach, the sheriff's office, the police departments in the other municipalities in the county to alert people of bank robberies and similar. We provide notary services, certificates of origin to exporters, business relocation services, community information. We have a nonprofits group. We hold fundraisers because that's partially where our money comes from. We have industry awards programs, community leaders summits. Our economic development organization works on behalf of Indian River County and serves them as the primary EDO. We have a memo of understanding with Enterprise Florida, an affiliation with the Florida Economic Development Council, as well as the International Economic Development Council, and we are a founder of Florida's Research Coast Economic Development. Our destination marketing, as you know, we're the DMO servicing Indian River County. We have affiliations as a founding member of Visit Florida, Florida Association of Destination Marketers, Destination Marketing Association International. We have 3 very distinct functions and 3 very distinct budgets. Our Our chamber budget is over $400,000, and that funds our chamber organization. Those funds come from dues and non-dues revenues. Non-dues revenues be something like a golf tournament or advertising in our newsletter. Those funds are in their own bank account at Marine Bank and Trust, and they have their own annual audit or review. Our economic development budget, about $200,000, comes from two funding sources. One is the county's funding source from their general revenue, about $140,000, and another 60 or more, 6,000, comes from our private economic development investors. These are people who provide funds targeting economic development. These are above and beyond the dues that they pay to the chamber. And again, economic development, guess what, has its own bank account at Seacoast National Bank. They get a monthly review of the items that they're doing by the county budget office, and they have an annual independent audit. Same with tourism. Tourism dollars come from the bed tax that's levied on rooms within the county. The tourism bank account is separate from the chambers. It's separate from economic development. None of these funds are commingled. And that bank account for tourism is over at Seacoast National Bank. There's a monthly review by the county budget office and an annual independent audit. There's no big check. The chamber gets no big check. We are reimbursed $1 spent, we get a reimbursement for $1. So for every dollar we spend on, say, an ad or having a creative development of an advertising campaign or any of the things that we do to promote Indian River County, which includes the city of Vero Beach, we get approved for those particular expenses by the county budget office, and only then do we get $1 for $1 spent. There's no rent, no utilities in there. The chamber provides pro bono services for economic development as well as tourism. Our office space was valued by one of our leading commercial real estate brokers just recently at $34,000 a year, contributed just to economic development and to tourism. That includes utilities and that includes the common area maintenance. Our chamber staff, which the chamber pays for out of their dues and non-dues income, that also contribute toward the services provided for economic development and tourism, are about $100,000 a year. We have about 65 active volunteers that work on just tourism and economic development, and at a value of about $75 an hour. That comes out to almost $70,000 contributed toward those two functions for a total pro bono service of over $200,000. Our economic development includes business retention, expansion, and includes promotion of the enterprise zone. During the 2014 budget process, we were asked, if there were additional funding, how would it be used? And after much discussion, the county commission approved an additional $70,000 that will be used on a county-wide positioning initiative that certainly will cover all parts of the county. And that should start sometime in the next 6 months. We collaborate with every municipality, with all our elected officials, with all the others on the Research Coast. We have great relationships built with state and federal offices. And just to mention, Helene, who is our economic development person on staff, she's currently on vacation, but she is a certified economic developer. Our business attraction includes going to trade shows, advertising, following up on leads, whether they're from Enterprise Florida or whether they are from having built relationships with people, either in commercial industrial real estate or site selectors, and includes our existing businesses and relationships that we have built with residents. Here's a photograph of a trade show that we attended. It was an aviation-focused trade show. This is a typical ad that you might see. However, we don't advertise locally for tourism or for economic development because we are not trying to recruit you. Our advertising, you may see in, for instance, these are a few samples. Expansion Solutions, which had an aviation focus, 20,000 distribution. Global Corporate Expansion, 115,000 distribution. And that was a particular targeted publication that was looking at renewable energy stories. And Business Expansion Journal, another alternative energy focus, 85,000 readers. The Enterprise Zone, which is located in and around Vero Beach Municipal Airport, we came to the city and we went to the county in 2004. We asked for cooperation in moving forward to establish an Enterprise Zone. We then took that to the state legislature, where it was passed in 2005 in the legislative session. And through the Enterprise Zone, we're able to offer incentives and do things that we're not able to do in other parts of the county. So, for instance, sales and corporate tax credits are available to people that locate there. There's sales tax refunds on construction, renovation, business equipment. And the city of Vero Beach very generously has provided a 50% exemption from the utilities, the tax on utilities. We promote incentives in order to be competitive with other areas in the country and with now other nations. We're looking at how we can compete. And in order to attract them here first, I mentioned earlier, there are no walls around any of the communities. So if we can attract a business to Indian River County, it helps everybody. We promote all of the local incentives, including, of course, the Enterprise Zone. We have great workforce training and education from the State College to FIT, FAU, Harbor Branch. Our current projects include an assembly plant with an anticipated new 50 jobs, 2 renewable energy firms that each anticipate 70 new jobs. Our local expansions that we're working with would be 45 total anticipated new jobs. 2 of those actually are located within the Enterprise Zone. And our economic development results. In the last 12 months, we've assisted 3 new companies to relocate here. 114 anticipated total jobs. We've assisted 4 existing companies in their expansion efforts for a total of 106 anticipated jobs. Here are some of the companies we've worked with over the past year or so. Some of them, a PCP, you might recognize. They're located out in the Enterprise Zone. Float On is located outside of town, past 95. Bridgevine is within the city. Other development and retention have included Girard, Nailtiques, NetBoss, SpecterSoft, Boston Barricades, and Ineos New Planet Bioenergy. Just as an example, we worked with Ineos and New Planet Energy for probably about 7 or 8 years before that project was even announced. Our state unemployment numbers are down, and we follow suit in Indian River County. It's been said that summer months are up. Actually, summer months are down, as you can see from these numbers. Average annual wages are up. We just launched a program called Zoom Prospector for economic development, and Zoom Prospector utilizes web-based technology. It's available to anybody on the internet. These days, people have done their homework first when they're looking to relocate a business, and this provides even more information to those folks as they're doing their research online. I'd like to introduce Allison McNeil, who's going to very quickly go through some of the initiatives for tourism. Allison.
Good evening. As Penny mentioned, my name is Allison McNeil. I'm the Director of Tourism at the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce. As Penny mentioned, our portion of the bed tax is a little over $350,000. And we serve as the primary destination marketing organization, and we promote all of the county. Our job is, of course, to grow the tourism market. Enhance the quality of stay, the average length of stay, visitor spending, repeat visitation, and referrals. Our target markets include what Visit Florida calls the Super 8, which would be Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, D.C., Texas, and Toronto, as well as in-state and drive markets. And some of our international markets include Canada, Brazil, Germany, and the UK. And our demographic is adults 35 and over, skewed towards females because we know that they usually make the travel decisions, with household incomes of $75,000 or more. Our marketing segments include leisure and families, groups, sports, visitors, and special events. And as you can see, our final bed tax report for the last fiscal year, we were up 8.5% over the previous year, and most notably were our summer months, which is very important. And I've talked to several of the hoteliers, and many of them had no layoffs over the summer season. Our website visitation was up 75% over the previous year. We had a 360% increase via our social media channels to our tourism website. We also had a 45% increase in opt-ins for our visitor newsletter that's also sent once a month. We just incorporated a hotel search engine on our website in the last year. And as you can see, we've had over 2,300 hotel searches. And our niche markets that we focus on include destination weddings, groups and meetings, heritage and the cultural arts, ecotourism, and sports. And here's an example of one of our ad placements for destination weddings. And notice we do make sure that we name all cities. And here's a screenshot of our newly updated Come Discover Love website, which was incorporated last year as well. We've had over 22,000 visits to that site. And in front of you, I believe you all have a copy of our Come Discover Love guide. This is actually a Markham Award-winning publication. We distribute 3,000 copies of those throughout the year at 5 different bridal shows that we attend. And it's very important to say that this publication was paid for by advertising dollars. No bed tax money was used to produce this. Hotel revenue. We had a 78% increase in the last fiscal year. And it's important to note this is just hotel revenue and catering. So this doesn't include the shopping or dining they did while they were here. Groups and meetings is one of our niche markets. And the Village is a tremendous market for us. They're only about 2.5 hours from here. They have a population of over 100,000. Their household income is over $75,000 a year. They take 3 in-state trips, and most importantly, they take midweek trips, which is very important to our hoteliers. Family reunions were huge this last year. We helped facilitate 6 family reunions, and the estimated economic impact was around $300,000. Again, this does not include the shopping and dining they did while they were here. And I'm sure many of you saw the signs that were strategically placed over on the Barrier Island area welcoming them. And we'll continue to promote our destination as a cultural destination through familiarization tours, my work with travel writers, and in our monthly newsletter. And we always try to get our partners and our hoteliers to collaborate together. And a good example here is Sophie from the Vero Beach Museum of Art and Christina from Vero Beach Hotel and Spa. This was at the Villages show we just attended on Friday. And some of our other partners that attended with us were Historic Dodgertown, Spring Hill Suites, Riverside Theater, and Captain Hiram's. And here's a screenshot of our Come Discover Nature website, which was updated last year as well. For sports, we, of course, collaborate with Historic Dodgertown. I'm on the board of the Treasure Coast Sports Commission. We work with college and high school teams, and we're always available for tours. And here's an example of a recent ad placement. As you can see, we partnered with Costa de Este and Holiday Inn Oceanside. This went to our northern markets in New York, Toronto, and Montreal. This has an audience of 2.75 million. And here's a copy of an email blast that is being distributed to 25,000 opt-in subscribers that are specifically interested in Florida travel. Our digital advertising programs. This is just the digital advertising for winter, spring, and summer. We can expect to receive over 6 million impressions, over 9,000 email leads, and we'll also have an email campaign to a database of over 325,000. and our mobile app, which we're very excited about. That's coming out within the next month. It's sitting in the Apple queue right now, waiting to be approved. It'll follow an Eat, Stay, Play directory, and it'll also have push notifications. And push notifications are great, especially if we're having an event like Under the Oaks, and people have their app downloaded to their phone. They have their GPS enabled. We can send them a message saying, giving them hotel discount packages, things like that, just to encourage overnight visitation. It'll have navigation, social media integration. It will have a listing for events. And my favorite part, analytics. I'll be able to tell who's downloading it and what they're doing while they're here. We'll be partnering with Expedia this summer. And Expedia receives over 4 million visits to their network sites per day. This will be a huge summer promotion, and we'll be geographically targeting users that are specifically in Florida and Georgia. And we're also working with Brand USA, which is the DMO to promote travel here to the United States. So we will have 3 2-minute language videos, one in German, one in Portuguese, and one in French Canadian. And Canada is a huge market for us. I'm sure you can all see that just driving around town. We see all the license plates. We know that's a great market. So we run ads in the Toronto Transit Commission. We also have dedicated email promotion, and we do print and digital as well. And consumer shows this year, we are attending one in Montreal, New York, Boston. I just got back from Chicago, DC, and Dallas. And I think it's really important to say with tourism as well as economic development that our marketing plans are ever evolving and ever changing based on our community needs and the needs of our partners and our members. And that concludes my presentation. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Comments?
Just one. When is your app going to get released? That looks pretty nice.
It's sitting in the Apple queue. It could take up to 2 weeks. We have the Android version completed, but you never want to introduce those. You want to do it simultaneously. So we're kind of just waiting for Apple. Apple has to review it to make sure that it's okay to put on their store, and then we'll be ready to launch.
Wonderful.
You'll see press releases, and I'd be happy to come back and give you guys a tutorial.
Terrific. Thank you so much. I just want to, thank you again for all your work. I mean, we did have a record-breaking summer,
We did.
and filling our hotels and just putting our area on the map for tourism.
Definitely.
With the weddings, the reunions. I mean, you couldn't be out and about and see some part of that activity. So,
Right.
Great job.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note, too, that we received October's bed tax numbers. They were up 3% over the previous year. We just received November's. We were up over 18% over last number's years.
That's awesome.
So
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have on the agenda Mr. Dillian Rangold, who's the county attorney for Indian River County.
Good evening. First off, just want to thank Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the Council for letting me speak to you this evening. I'm joined here tonight by Vince Burke, who is our Utilities Director, and Jason Brown, who is our Budget Director. Also, who's joined me is Commissioner Bob Solari, and also Joe Baird, our County Manager. I know you had, on January 7th, you had a meeting and you discussed a presentation of an agreement that had been made to the City Council concerning our water, wastewater, and reclaimed agreement. And I know at the time that you were not necessarily happy with the draft that was presented to you. And I know that, they had a lot of disagreements on this, and you had directed your staff to work with our staff to negotiate maybe some different terms and different aspects of that agreement. But please understand that over the last year and a half, our staff and your staff have had on-again, off-again conversations about this water, wastewater, and reclaimed water agreement. And at the end of that period, we had come to sort of, an impasse, if you will. And what our Board of County Commissioners did is they said they tried to break that logjam. And the way that they tried to break that logjam is they presented 4 points. And they specifically asked me, Mr. Reingold, please go down to the City Council and talk to them about these 4 basic points. And if we can come to agreement on these, I think we can move forward. And the 4 basic points were as follows. First off, we like to see county rates. Second, we like to see the 10% surcharge removed. And what I heard on January 7th and what I've heard from your staff is that both of those items have essentially been resolved, which has been wonderful, which leaves the last 2 points. In the discussion, your staff had said they wanted a 6% equalization fee. And at the same time, our staff was asking for a 6% franchise fee. Each side asking the other to sort of budge. And what the Board of County Commissioners said was, we want to see your customers, your ratepayers, and at the same time, our citizens, to be essentially look at their bill and have it look the same as anyone else who is paying in the unincorporated parts of Indian River County. And to that end, they proposed a compromise. And that compromise was, we understand you would like to, your staff wanted to charge 6%, and that our staff wanted to charge 6%. And the compromise they proposed was, well, why don't we have the equalization fee charged by the city to be 3%, and the franchise fee to be charged by the Indian River County to be 3%. And thus, we would both share equally, and it would be 6%. I can tell you that our staff was not happy with that compromise, and I know that your staff is not happy with that compromise. And that was part of the reason why the Board of County Commissioners said, Mr. Reingold, I think this is time that we need to have a board-to-council conversation so that we can get away from the staff's impasse. And the final point that the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners came up with was, we want to make sure that we have a remedy and a protection for our ratepayers. And to that regards, they had asked that the agreement include a provision that in the event the city could no longer provide at those rates and the services at those rates to your customers and our citizens, that essentially the county would have the right and the ability to operate the system. And based upon those 4 points, the County Commission asked me to come down here and have a direct, frank conversation with this board. Essentially, what I had come here tonight to talk about was those 4 points, and essentially get an understanding from this board, this council, as to where this council stood on those 4 issues. And thus, I know I've read a memo that was provided by Jim O'Connor, your city manager, but the idea was I wanted to hear from you 4. And to the extent we have differences on some of the ownership issues, we can agree to disagree on those. And to the extent there are other points that this council raised on January 7th and that your staff has raised, I believe that we can negotiate those issues. And therefore, tonight I'm simply just looking for where this council stands on those 4 basic points. So thank you very much. I know that was a short presentation. You have a lot on your agenda tonight. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak with you.
I have a question of Mr. O'Connor. And I am committed to Mr. O'Connor, who's our city manager, managing the city. And he's written a memo here, which I assume has been shared with the county people. That's
Yes,
not really
it
what
has.
I want to say. What I want to say is to the city manager and to the city attorney, is there any reason why we just don't implement the Indian River Shores rate structure and eliminate the 10%? And any reason why you can't bring back a resolution? The first 2 points, why don't we just do them? I was under the misconception that the county commission has to sign for us to reduce, but you've told me that that's not the case. So I don't know what the city council thinks, but I could just move forward with that personally.
Mr. Mayor, that was in a recommendation in my cover letter that also that we implement those rates. And plus, these would be the rates that we imposed on Indian River Shores and also are the rates that are imposed by the county onto the city of Sebastian. And we have absolutely no objection, and we could introduce that resolution for council consideration. That would address 2, because in there it drops the 10%. We have the 6% equalization charge and the county rates. Exactly what the county imposes on Sebastian, exactly what we impose on the city of Indian River Shores. And we have no issue with that. The other issues that the county attorney points out, when I read through the information that was provided, it in essence says the city has no ownership of assets. I don't believe that. I believe that, A, we have ownership of assets, but we also have ownership of a very, very important item, and that's a going concern. And we have customers. We based our business model on that going concern, and to me, that is an asset as well. So I look at, and that's the other 2 points that we firmly disagree on. I'm not sure there is a median ground in that effort.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Kramer, could you live with going to the Indian River shores? I mean, I'm looking for consensus.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if you might, I have no problem, I guess, on the main points that Mr. Uncle presented. However, this document is unbelievably one-sided. The city of Vero Beach has no right or authority. Everything is at the sole discretion or approval of Indian River County. It's not that it won't, there's not even the clause that it won't be unreasonably withheld. The city of Vero Beach has no remedy. Our sole remedy is to turn it completely over to Indian River County in the event there's any issue. So the door is closed for any further negotiation. It's not a 30-year franchise. It's a 10-year franchise, the way it's written. I mean, and the request or the requirement to provide any and all needed reuse water, it's just not practical. I don't think the county could do that at this time in that area. So I think, for me, I would oppose changing those rates because I think that's part of our bargaining position. We certainly want to give these county customers this break, but if you do that without negotiating all the issues in this contract, you've lost any leverage.
Two items that are very important. Number one, if we impose the rates as we did in Indian River Shores and as the county does in the city of Sebastian, the county reserves the right to impose a 6% franchise fee. They do that at their own discretion. So they do not have to have higher rates to the unincorporated areas. They just have to give up the 6, which is what the city of Sebastian and also Indian River Shores have done. The other thing is having the franchise agreement with any type of terms on rate structures, I think is somewhat impractical. But from our standpoint, administratively speaking, the franchise agreement's good till 2017. All these other elements can be discussed and worked on. But when March 2017 rolls along, the impact is, again, a discretion of the county whether they want impact or franchise fees or not. So it's not really a document that we are basing our entire existence in the unincorporated areas on. So that's why I feel very free that we could impose those rates and not have an issue.
Mr. Fletcher, what do you think?
Well, the document I read is wholly unreasonable. I have spoken to Mr. Connor about it, and Mr. Jim and I both have the same ideas. I'm going to trust him, have and will continue to trust his opinion on what is to be done. He's the CEO of the corporation, and I'm not going to step in his way. I completely support him in his efforts.
Ms. Graves.
Well, I think that there's been a consensus now of where the city council sits. You got your answer that you came to hear, and hopefully you and our city manager can go back to the drawing board and maybe renegotiate a little bit of this.
I have no problem with giving them the county rates. As far as the contract, I mean, it's like a homeless guy asking you for $20 and you say no, and he says, let's compromise and give me 10.
Let me comment.
You know, I mean,
let me comment about that. You know, we have another utility situation where I really feel like there's hostages being held, namely us. And I don't see holding the people in South Beach and outside the city hostage to this prolonged debate when we have the power unilaterally to grant them the rate without the county's permission. So I mean, what you say, Ms. Turner, I agree with all your comments about the agreement. I agree with them 100%. But what that says is, well, we're not going to do the best we can for our good customers in South Beach or in the south part of the town or in the many small areas that the county could never serve anyway because they couldn't get into those areas. And I don't know. I think we have to look at it from the customer's point of view. So I would prefer that we consider a resolution to unilaterally change the rates because I agree with you. I think this document couldn't be more one-sided. I mean, the reality of it is we build a utility when no one else would build a utility. There wouldn't be a utility there. The reality of it is we have an ongoing business which provides revenue to this city. The reality of it is we have a service agreement in perpetuity which was granted by the county. The reality of it is we own the assets. The reality of it is they have no way of getting to these particular areas without drilling under the lagoon at big cost. I mean, the whole thing is silly because I think we should just go on with life and give the lower rates. But that's my opinion. I'm only one.
May I ask Mr. O'Connor a question? Do we have our Cayenta system working so that we're able to bill under the CRU? Everything's...
Yes, ma'am. What we would do is exactly what we did with Indian River Shores. Now, there are some tweaks to that. For example, the county has some charges for 1 or 2 calls out for checking of meters. We don't charge the first, but we double the charge on the second call. And so there are minor little details, but the rate structure, and we don't charge impact fees and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but no other major software.
No, ma'am. And
Thank
the
you.
Cayenta is in place with this capability.
Thank you.
It will take us time to program in those particular customers, but within 90 to 120 days, it could be done.
Ms. Graves, what's your pleasure on the rates? We all agree we don't like this, so.
I think let's move forward with those rates. Is there a motion to draft a resolution to do that, or we?
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to draft a resolution to move forward with the county rates. Well, let me get it right. Rate structure and eliminate the 10%. I believe that's the right wording.
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion?
Do we really need a resolution to do that? We just need.
Yes.
We need a resolution to do that.
It would give people more chance to get more input too, instead of this impromptu.
Right.
Okay, so we're in agreement then that you'll draft a resolution. We'll have further debate at that point in time. And further debate will be appropriate, I think.
Call?
Call the question. No, I don't think we need to. Do you?
Consensus, okay.
You got a motion. You might as well call a question.
Yeah,
Make it formal.
okay, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously passes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your time.
And we agree with your first 2 points wholeheartedly. So I think we've made some progress in the interest of the people. And I think that's important. That's what we're here to do.
I've been tasked to come here to present the 4 points. I've heard you loud on your agreement on the first 2 and your opposition to the second 2, and I want to thank you and your staff for their time in working on this issue.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really important that we work as closely as we can in each of our sphere with the county, and we have a very good county, a very good county staff. We have a difference of opinion here, and so be it. We move forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Stradley, I would give you the option, if you would like, of coupling your comment as the first comment when we get into 3D. That way you can be part of the debate, or you can do it now. It's your call. Not both, please, though.
Well, I think I'd like to do it now.
That's fine. Your pleasure.
Scott Stradley, 1797 14th Avenue. I'm here as the chairman of the Utility Commission tonight. We had our meeting on January the 14th, January meeting, and one of the things that the only thing we really talked about was the proposed ordinance reframing changing the Utility Commission. We had a very good meeting, it was a very good meeting. We talked a lot about it, and you all have my memo, so I'm not going to trouble you by reading it. It's in the backup for the people in the city. I just wanted to speak to it and a few concerns. We have a very effective committee. We work very well together. I think we're doing a good job for the city in monitoring the utility issues. And I understand the concerns. As I spoke the night that Mr. Kramer first brought it forward, I understand his concerns. I would like to suggest that perhaps we could reach a compromise where we could maintain the structure of the committee. Right now, we have a good balance between city ratepayers and county ratepayers on the committee. We take a good look at that. And the people that are there, the county residents that are there to represent the county ratepayers. I'm somewhat concerned, and this came up in the meeting. I hadn't really thought about it until the meeting, and one of our members brought it forward. having the county itself put a representative on the city's advisory commission, we may not have someone that has the best interest of the county ratepayers in mind, but perhaps the best interest of the county. And we've just seen some of the county proposals come forward tonight that weren't in the best interest of the city. And that's something I think that we need to consider on perhaps an unintended consequence of this change. We set some pretty substantial goals for 2014. Many of them address this very point on issue. And I just, if you don't mind, indulge me to read from the goals. Our first goal, subpart of our first goal, is to make recommendations and encourage open lines of communication with the county. We want to, study the South County water and the franchise fee issues. These are goals we set for this coming year. And we're really, actually, as a committee, we're really kind of enjoying talking about water sewer. And now that the electrical issues sort of moved beyond some of our hands here, so I would encourage the council to maybe they can come up with a compromise, something in between that would address the concerns that Mr. Kramer and perhaps other members of the council have, and yet still maintain the integrity of the committee as something that represents the city, then the ratepayers of the city and the ratepayers of the county. And we just we have a good committee. It's working, and if it's not broken, I don't think we really need to fix it. So that's. Thank you very much. And but Mr. Winger, I'm going to reserve the right to hang around, and if I do feel a need to speak up a little bit later, I might be back up here.
Scott, thank you for your service. It's most appreciated. You know, one of the things about government that is really a struggle, not enough people step up to do the kind of things that Mr. Straley does or do the kind of things we do, and we really appreciate what you have done heretofore. We'll open it to general comment. The left side of the room, this gentleman here in the front in the blue blazer had his hand up first, and then Mr. Hetty, you could be second. Yes, and please identify yourself and your address, please.
My name is George Lamborn. I'm the president of the South Beach Property Owners Association. I've come to Vero Beach around 2000, and in 6 years we bought some property here, and I'm a resident of the moorings. I took this job to be the president because no one else wanted it. Well, that's also it turned out to be a hell of a lot more than I expected, because you have the most complicated water contract, the most complicated electric contract, some more contracts that are complicated. I've been in business all my life, and I thought I understood things. And every time I turn around, it's changed again. My goal at South Beach was established because over the years I saw the fact that not too many industries, councils, committees, hospitals, and all of that. And I introduced myself to Jim O'Connor, and I asked him and I told him I thought the biggest problem that I was going to face is trying to get people to work together. And I think that we've established that somewhat at South Beach, and I was coming to the conclusion that things between the county and the city were actually improving. And I won't take any more of your time, but when I saw what Vice Mayor had proposed, I took it as a hell of an insult, and the people on the South Beach are furious about it, and I don't blame them. So I think that what we've tried to do, and I think the people at the city and at the county have worked very, very hard to draw some of these things together on probably the two most complicated contracts I've ever seen in my life. I used to trade commodities. Some of those were pretty complicated, but nothing resembles this 35-year mess that we have. And I would like to have the city and you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps write a letter that would say that in some way mollify this situation that we have now so that I can address the 2,600 people that I represent and tell them that it's all kind of a mistake, that they didn't mean to insult the county and on the South Beach, because that's what it comes across, Vice Mayor. And that's my message. I have nothing really further to say. You all have my letter, and you can go over those numbers if you think they're right or you don't think they're right. That's something for you to decide. But that's why I took the trouble to write a letter so that I wouldn't have to answer any questions and get into a dialogue and start another argument, because with a middle name like Flynn, O'Connor, I can get in some pretty good arguments, and I want to prohibit myself from doing that. I thank you for your time. You're very courteous because I wasn't on the agenda. I didn't know the protocol. Next time I'll be sure and follow it. Thank you.
You're fine, as long as your comments are short. Anyone's welcome to comment. Does anyone have any comment, or are we moving on with Mr. Hetty? Mr. Hetty?
Good evening, council members. I thought after the first two presentations you might have to do jumping jacks or something to wake you up. Anyway, you can tell there's tax dollars involved. We got these two competing chambers of commerce. You can tell there's tax dollars, and one says there's no tax dollars involved, and the other puts up a presentation showing incredible tax dollars that are involved. And regardless of what you feel about the parties, I think competition's a good thing, personally. I'm glad there's more than one kind of burger in town. You know, you can Sonic or Big Mac or McDonald's, or if you really want to up your game, go down here to the Chart House and you'll have an incredible hamburger. But and there's other places in town. But anyway, South Beach, did he leave? He did.
He left, yes.
Damn. Anyway, one of the things the South Beach organization can do to help move the electric issue along is to encourage you to just do the deal. We know what the offer is, and Mr. Winger has put together a pretty concise, easy to understand analysis of the total dollars. You did it, 6-8 months ago, a long time ago. It's $179 million total. There's $111 million in cash. I don't know whether my numbers are exactly right on, but
they're close enough.
Pretty close, yeah. And if the county would just join with the public service complaint, and Indian River Shores do the same thing, they could have their own utility, and they don't get it for free. They get to pay for it. And I think somebody's trying to get another utility for free, too. Everybody wants a lot of things free from the city, don't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Pilar is not much for giving city anything away for free. I've seen lots of analysis. I served with you on the city council. I know you were often a stickler for details. And was that the engineering background, I guess?
I imagine so, Mr. Hetty.
Yeah. And anyway, and in Pilar, you've also commented on I know in one occasion you commented after 165 pages of information, you said, geez, the facts are pretty well right on, and you can't make good decisions without facts. The commission, the city council appointed me to a commission recently, and you can't make good decisions without some decent facts. And the first meeting, I found it pretty hard to get to the facts. And I know Tammy's known me for a long time. I got a pretty good memory, don't I, Tammy? Shaking her head, yes. Yeah. And I take things pretty seriously. And the Assistant City Attorney Peggy Lyon knows I take the Sunshine Law pretty seriously, and before our first meeting, we were front page in a local publication about me meeting with a member of the committee. So that was a topic of discussion at our first meeting, and Wayne, come in. Is he there? Oh, I thought your eyes were closed. Sorry, you were looking down.
Woke me up.
Oh, well, okay. Anyway, I know that when I was on council, one of the things that you did was research first. No, Mr. Hetty, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to do some research on that. I'm not going to answer. You remember saying that to me, right? More than once. At the High-Speed Rail Commission, there was a question over one member and whether or not he was really a member or not a member, whether I could talk to him, couldn't talk to him.
I think that's water over the dam. Move
well,
forward.
maybe it is. Maybe
Yeah,
it
I do.
is. Maybe.
He never was a member of the commission.
He never was a member of the committee. Oh, okay.
I'll
Let
clear that
me-
up, but move forward.
Okay, we'll clear that up. Let me see.
Where are we going here?
Here's your ballot. You voted yes for him to be a member of the committee, and you voted for him to be an alternate.
That makes no difference.
And let me see, who else voted
No, wait
for
a minute.
him?
No, wait a minute.
In
that
fact-
makes no difference.
Makes no difference. You voted for him.
The ballot was given to me by the city clerk. The city clerk was an error. You know she was an error. He was never a member of the commission. So let's forget it. Okay.
Well, see, when I dug into the ballots, after I was given the information at the rail, I dug into the ballots and I look and, Craig Fletcher voted for him. Paul Turner voted for him. Jay did not vote for him. Amelia voted for him as an alternate, and you, Mr. Mayor,
What is
voted for him
the point is it regards
as
the commission?
an alternate.
Where are we going?
What happened between the city council meeting? Who made the decision that your vote no longer counted? Do you know?
Wayne, do you want to answer the question? Or Tammy, would you like to answer the question?
Well, Tammy kept the minutes, and the minutes don't reflect that he was elected.
The minutes do reflect it. In fact, I went back to the minutes, because when you held up those papers and you said the minutes, I have them right here, and they don't reflect that he was elected, what I did was I went back to the minutes just to see the proof that you had, and actually, these ballots are from the minutes, and that's exactly what it reflects.
Mr. Hetty, when the meeting was convened, Tammy did not swear him in, nor did I recognize him, because I chaired the first session. And it was agreed at the meeting and stated by Mrs. Bach and by the city attorney that he was not a member. It was an error all along. I don't think we're going anyplace here, because he's not a member. He works for the
And where
railroad.
we're going, Mr. Mayor, is this.
You don't think we should make errors? Is that it?
No, not at all. I don't have a problem with you making errors at all. I make them all the time. But when I make an error, I admit my error. I
So
thank
it's an error.
whoever it is that corrected me. The problem that I have with this whole thing is that this city council voted in favor of something, and I relied on what this board did, and then somebody changed that. Somebody changed that. Mr. Stradley, I was told, when we were voting for a chairman, I was told that, geez, Mr. Stradley was only an alternate. He couldn't serve as chairman, and I'm not unhappy with Ken being the chairman. That's fine with me.
Well, do you want him on the board? Is that what
But
you're
I was
arguing? I don't
told-
understand where you're going.
But I was told by city staff that that couldn't happen. If you're to make any
Answer my
good
question,
decisions,
please, sir. Answer my question. Do you want him on the board? What is it you're arguing
go on
for?
who on the board?
Huh?
Go on who on the board?
Do you want the gentleman you're talking about on the board? Is that what you're arguing? What are you arguing here?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
I'd like to know how come the city council made a decision and put somebody on the board. I'd like to know who made the decision before this, who changed that decision between the city council meeting.
Jim, excuse me, Mr. Eddy. Jim?
Mr. Hetty, he was not qualified to be on the board because the ordinance, the document that creates the commission says you have to be a city resident. So no matter how many votes he got, he was not qualified to be under the code in which the commission was established. So they could have voted for Mickey Mouse, but unless he's a resident, he would not be eligible under that code.
So the city council can vote for Mickey Mouse or any other Mickey Mouse agreements, and if you decide that there's a word someplace, somewhere, whatever the city council did, you overrule?
If it violates the law, yes, sir. If it violates the law, that code.
And you do that without telling the city council?
I think the city council.
Well, Mr. Hayden, I was aware of the law from both Mr. Comet, Mrs. Vach, and at the time of the swearing in that he was not eligible, and we did not swear him in for that reason. And at that meeting, we said he was not eligible. Now, we're through with this particular one. If you have another subject, move on, but that's it on that one, okay?
Well,
that's it. I don't want to hear any more about it.
I don't care whether you want to hear it or not. I didn't ask you whether you wanted to hear it. That wasn't part of my presentation.
What's your presentation?
The point still is, and I guess you miss it, it's not whether I want him on the commission or not. We've got several things that are costing our community millions and millions of dollars, and instead of the city council making decisions, you've got some transactional attorney or the city attorney or the city manager. In fact, it was interesting. I think it was the December meeting. The city manager looked down at you and he says, "Well, I'm not going to stop you from putting anything on the agenda, so don't worry about it. I'll let you put anything on the agenda." And I was pretty amazed at that statement that staff was allowing you to do things.
Mr. Eddy, you've now used 18 minutes of our time, and you're through. I'm sorry.
What do you mean I'm through?
It means you're through.
You know, let me tell you.
But because it's not useful. You're not using it in the public interest.
Mr. Mayor, let me tell you something. You are dangerously close to putting the city back in a situation where they're going to have to defend themselves. Just so you know.
Thank you for your comment. But let's move on with the meeting, please.
I'm telling you that your little red button nonsense, you're telling me that I'm done, that you don't want to hear from me anymore, that kind of nonsense will get you back into federal court. And that's not a threat. I'm telling you what these actions against me will absolutely do.
All I'm asking you to do is be courteous to the public and the agenda. That's all I'm asking.
It would be easier to be courteous in your definition if city staff and city council gave answers to the public when they came before you. And you're a perfect example of that. I'll tell you, I've tried to have you on my television show. You refused to be on the show without me.
Mr. Hetty, you never asked me to be on your television show.
Absolute total lie.
You never asked me.
Well, I tell you, it's an open invitation to every single one of you, including the staff, to be on my show. The only one that Pilar has never refused, and Jay Kramer has been on multiple times, he has never asked for the questions in advance. You ask for the questions in advance, and if you don't get the questions in advance, you just don't want to participate. Well, unfortunately, that's not the job you have. That's not the job you ran for. And we don't work for you. You work for us. And I know you don't like that, but that is the way it is. And cutting me off or giving me different set of parameters for my speech is a violation of my rights, and I'm putting you on notice that that's going to wind you back up in federal court. I don't like Mr. Fletcher having the police officer haul me out. What nonsense. What absolute total nonsense. And and half the time you don't even have backbone enough to stand up when you see something wrong. You knew when the police officer was hauling me out that was the wrong thing to do. And you aren't the only one up there that knew it was wrong. Amelia was running for office at the time. On the way out and after the meeting, Amelia had talked to me. Brian, that was just wrong. Just wrong. But when you sit in your official capacity, you don't give a damn. You do what you think you want to do because you think you have power over us. The people have the power, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Eddy. Mr. Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council and staff. Appreciate the opportunity to speak here. I don't want to disappoint you, but I didn't come up here to argue with any of you, and I just...
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson is a tough act to follow, and I really enjoyed the presentation by Peggy Chandler. It's not the first time I've had an opportunity to hear her speak. She does a lovely job presenting the position and the work of the Chamber of Commerce. And as an incorporator of the Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce, one of them, I applaud her efforts. And I applaud all of the work that the Chamber has done for the last 18 years. I was a little puzzled why she chose to speak this evening. I understood why Mr. Wilson chose to speak this evening, because it was a way of introducing our organization to the City Council and to the city at large. But when I heard the presentation by Ms. Chandler, and it was excellent, I was just wondering why it was necessary after 18 years of experience that she had all these members in the chamber, but I knew quite a few of them, and I have a respect for all of them. In fact, we have our bank account with one of the members of the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce. So we know they are successful, and we encourage them to continue to be successful in the future, and we're going to be successful. Notwithstanding everything that was said here this evening, there are, when you do the math and the research, there are still approximately 2,000 businesses located in Vero Beach proper that are not member of a Chamber of Commerce. So when we did that and we found out that information, we thought that we could provide a forum for them to come and talk and see what we can do to improve the business community in Vero Beach. And I know, listening to all of you, being involved in some campaigns and following campaigns and attending council meetings, I know that all of you have gone on record before at some point in taking positions in support of the business community, improving businesses in Vero Beach. And that's what Vero Beach Chamber of Commerce wants to do. We do not want to be a competitor of Indian River Chamber of Commerce, but we want to work to help the business community in Vero Beach, and that's why we're going to be a success. We're incorporated, we're in business, and we're going to be a tax-exempt organization, and we look forward to working with anybody and everyone who wants to improve the business life in Vero Beach. Any questions?
Thank you for your comments. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council.
Who else would like to come forward? Come forward, sir. Oh, okay.
We come in peace.
Is that Mr. Stump's recorder?
No, it's for the change.
You look stronger than me, so I'm glad.
My name is David Farrow. We are all board members of the Vero Beach Lifeguard Association, and we're here to talk a little bit about the annual report, and I promise you we'll be brief. I'm going to start off first with the VBLA mission statement to promote lifeguarding and water safety in Vero Beach and surrounding communities, and a lot more. Established in 2011, the membership's approximately 30. The board of directors are number 4. 3 of them are here. And the beach report, we have the 2013, which you all, I believe, have gotten a copy of the 2013 beach report. And we're here because we have a couple concerns. I'm going to speak of mine, and then Dr. Tim McNamee will be coming up, and then Scott Cavanis will be following him. Again, we will be brief. Some of the beach report highlights: the attendance was down on the beaches 22% this past year. I know we heard some great stuff about the hotels being up, but the beach attendance was down, and the reasons: weather, surf conditions, less people on staycations, negative press on the beach cleanup, and a lost swimmer at South Beach in June, and another shark attack in November. These are some concerns, and the VBLA is here to help. So that's the thing you have to know. And we are funded. As you know, in the past, we've provided life safety equipment for the lifeguards. The lifeguards are doing a great job, and that's what we're here for. The areas of concern, beach cleanliness, already being corrected with a new beach contract, which started January 6th, I'm happy to announce. Communication and coordination issues between the ocean rescue lifeguards, police, and fire rescue. This is very important. There was recently a 911 call about a distressed swimmer. Everybody was called out there. The lifeguards were not notified. It was the part of the wreck sticking up at low tide, and they thought it was a distressed swimmer. So that can easily be averted with a little more coordination. That's what we want to try to help with that also. Medical emergencies on the beach. Most of our lifeguards are EMTs and paramedics with proper training and beach rescue equipment, which can assist much faster and transfer victims more effectively. And the stretch of beach from Humiston Park, the hours of operation were scaled back to 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And given the number of incidents that has been increasing, we think that that needs to be worked on. And my personal pet peeve is that if you drive into Vero Beach and you park at the end of Route 60, where everybody likes to see Vero for the first time, and you walk out there, there's no lifeguard stand there. And so we want to work hard in putting up a lifeguard stand there and also an ocean rescue center at Humiston for the lifeguards, a place for them to have lockers and everything else. And we'll help take care of that. That's what we're here for. So again, we're here to help. I'm finished with my part of it, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Tim McNamee.
Thank you. Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tim McNamee, a fellow VBLA board member. I just want to reiterate some of the same points that Mr. Farrer has pointed out, and that the importance of the lifeguards serve in our city, in our town, in our community, and VBLA in terms of trying to support that mission. I was telling us already at a meeting that when we had the pleasure of moving up here in the late 1990s, we just bought our house in Castaway Cove on the beach.
And you and I are neighbors across the street.
We are. I have multiple houses now, and I really do like the area and support it. But my in-laws came down for the first time to visit our new house, and I think there was a number of shark attacks up in Sebastian area or Melbourne. And my mother-in-law, being the dutiful mother-in-law, grilled me with our newborn son about the dangers of the beach, and I said, no. As a emergency medicine trained physician, there's not an issue here. The beaches are safe. It's not a problem. Only the next morning at 9 a.m. in the morning, there was a knock on our front door. There was a teenager from across the street trying surfing for the first time that was bitten by a shark. Someone had told us that we were both in medicine. My wife is also a physician, and he actually had a good chomp on his arm, and we stabilized him, called 911, and he ended up spending the next 8 hours in surgery repairing all the tendons that were. So I didn't have a lot of credibility with my in-laws at that point in time. But I did recognize that there is things that can happen, and they happen at a time when it's not expected. Fortunately for that young man, he did well. He had proper attention, had good medical care, and that's what's important. I think the point of having proper lifeguards and having sufficient lifeguards is very important also. Talking now as a neighbor, I have a couple of rental properties that I do seasonal rentals with, and just last month, someone came down to visit for a month, and the first question to me was about beach safety, which I was kind of taken aback because that's not usually the first question someone has when they arrive in Vero Beach. And I let them know that the beaches are safe, we have a good lifeguard situation, and what is going on, and there are not a lot of real concerns and issues, but be careful of rip currents and so forth. And actually, Mr. Eric Tumso is a neighbor, and I said he's a neighbor of where our house is, so he'll be glad to help you when you're out there if you see him on his catamaran. Even had one renter that's down currently that actually drives to the guarded beach rather than walking across the street to an unguarded beach. So I think there's a real issue, especially if you're looking at the data that was presented earlier concerning the hotels, that there's a real need and an issue to really support beach safety because it is vital to our hotel industry and to people that are visiting here. And my mother-in-law has since passed, but I'm sure she'll be glad that I'm speaking, trying to maintain her issues of safety for all the children and visitors to our area. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Cavanis, 740 35th Avenue, Southwest, Vero Beach, Florida. I'm a local business owner. We have Shark Bait Beach Gear Rentals on the local resorts. And I'm really excited about the potential to have something at Sexton Plaza because we are opening up at the Holiday Inn February 1st. I have three just really quick things to interject. One of the things that is really important about the communication issue is I did speak with Station 2 Fire Rescue. They informed me that when a 911 call comes from the city, it goes to city 911 dispatch, and then it goes to county. Then county goes to the fire rescue, and then fire rescue, if they were going to get the local guards involved, would then get a call. And that is the key aspect. The local Vero Beach lifeguards can now monitor the other channels, but they don't have the ability, unless they're not tasked with monitoring those channels all the time and they're not in the loop, so to speak. And with the recent safety equipment that they've got with that rescue vehicle that is capable of even getting up into the Rio Mar area, should an incident occur on Rio Mar area, they really should be in the loop. And that's the key aspect of the communication thing, I think, is that there's too much around about to get back to the lifeguards when needed. And they agree with that as well. The other thing they've kind of covered pretty much. But the third thing I would like to interject right now is that I know we have a new chamber. I'm pretty excited about that as a local business. And we have the county chamber, and everybody's vying for people to join in with these nonprofit organizations. But the VBLA is actively looking for local community members, not just lifeguards, to be in the middle of it, because the lifeguards are city employees. And for them to speak out about an issue that comes in that's affecting them, like if they want to have local meetings or something like that, and it's kind of them jumping the chain of command, so to speak, and that's just not done. It's not supposed to be done. So when we have local community leaders that join the VBLA, they can carry the voice forward to this committee and others like it, so the lifeguards aren't in fear of retribution or anything like that could possibly happen. And you're really affecting change from the people that are experiencing life on a day-to-day basis out there on the beach. They know what needs to be done. They can bring it to the VBLA, and the VBLA can bring it through non-lifeguards to the people that matter, that are going to actually affect the changes that need to occur.
Thank you.
So everybody join the VBLA and the local
Mr.
Chamber
Mayor?
of Commerce.
So I wanted to see if I could ask Mr. O'Connor, is there something possibly we could ask the Chief Curry with the dispatch to see about finding some way to route those kind of 911 emergencies that are on the beach? No? It's just... okay.
They already have a communication with the police department in their radios. We issued new radios, but we don't have the authority to issue radios for the county systems.
Well, one of the things, if we receive a 911 call through our dispatch unit about a problem on the beach, we respond no matter who else responds. So if anybody monitors our radios, will automatically know that we are already going. So the lifeguards already have that, and they usually know. I have not seen that issue at all.
Well, I'm not trying to create an issue by it. I'm trying to help resolve it.
I'm just saying,
But
we always get those calls, we always respond, and then they monitor. So that's really not an issue.
But monitoring and being in the loop, I think, was something that was raised to me. I'm not a Vero Beach lifeguard. I am an open water lifeguard, and I've responded to 9 emergency issues. And one of them was when I left this chamber at 4 o'clock to go to Humminson Beach, which at the time was unguarded, and effected a rescue on my own. And by the time I came back in, fire rescue had arrived onto the beach.
Thanks so much, Scott. I would just ask if we could just see about, making sure we have open communication, whatever that may be, and talk with the lifeguards, and if there's anything we can do to help or support that.
But we did get new radios for a lot of the lifeguards this year. So
thank you.
And to monitor is one thing, but to be in the loop. But there was a lady that was, I guess she was having seizures around the Rio Mar area, and it was a Vero Beach police officer that did respond, but they didn't have the rescue vehicle wasn't there, and then the lifeguards weren't actually notified to bring the rescue vehicle to assist the lady off the beach, which is something that, bring in all these rescue capabilities into a more effective means when time is of an issue of essence is important.
Look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we
If
should.
I may add one more thing. I'm sorry for interjecting, but we were talking about rescues, and there is one more item you might want to have just for your knowledge. The number of rescues was 71 in 2013, and there were 30 in 2012. Just in the month of July alone in 2013, there were 18 from strong rip currents and 5 in one day.
Yeah.
And these are lifeguards rescuing and pulling people out of danger. So
Yeah.
that'll tell you how important.
Yeah, thank goodness they did it. Thank goodness they did it. What about if we take a break to 7:45? Then we'll come back, I believe, to 3B. Is that correct? Or unless there's further comment from the floor.
We can just.
Let's get to, can we do the
Consent agenda would be next.
Is there, before I cut off, is there any more comment from the floor? Okay.
Anybody want to address the consent agenda before we vote on it?
Okay, well, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I would like to talk about D2 and D4.
Public comment, Mr. Mayor?
And public comment about the consent agenda?
Seeing none, move on.
So are you agreeable to talk about 2 and 4, and we'll approve 1 and 3?
Motion to approve 1 and 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 2, the only thing about 2 that I was wondering about, it seems to be very similar to 4A, Eric, and I didn't understand what the difference was. They're both about $20,000 out of your budget, but what's the difference in them? That's all.
Yes, item 2 is the change order in which we hire the contractor to spend the money under 4A. 4A is a supplemental agreement that we have a resolution on the agenda that the council, if they approve it, will accept the state grant money, which will then pay for this change order with a contractor. There's a dollar difference there that I think you're referring to.
Yes, a few dollars.
That's simply because the state process is slower, and when we requested the grant, we had an estimate. This change order is more accurate and is the more accurate number, the $20,095 that the airport would spend.
Okay, I can make a motion then to accept it if that's needed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Regarding number 4, it has no place in it that it mentions the amount of rent or whether the amount of rent is commensurate with what the property is worth.
Also,
So I'm blind. I don't know what we're approving.
Just as a note, under the contract, the tenant does have the right to extend the contract another 5 years under those terms and
That's
conditions.
correct.
But, yeah.
Yes. When we first bought the property and the building was on the property, we did have it appraised, and we initially started out trying to find yacht brokers to go in there, and we had a couple that we were talking to, and then we had an economic downturn, so they were no longer selling any boats, but actually, the rent right now is right around $45,000 a year. They pay the utilities. They insure the building for replacement cost, and we make annual adjustments based on CPI for all urban areas.
And they have the right to renew for 5 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I have no more questions.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. I think we should take a break now till 7:50 maybe. Does that
Okay.
work for you all?
Yes.
And we'll come back and we'll do 3B then. All right.